Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Monroe Mann with Before the Big Break, an awesome show where we're interviewing people about the turning points and amazing decisions and things that happened before they ended up finding their calling and their success. We have an awesome guest today, Mr. Scott duPont, a good friend of mine, very successful filmmaker, formerly of Florida, now in Los Angeles. And before we find out about his amazing story, I just wanted to give you guys a recap about what this show is and how it came to be. So if you haven't, you can join our community at breakdiving.io. What is breakdiving? Don't wait for opportunities. Dive in and make your own breaks. Well, this show, which originated on my own YouTube channel, which is called Monroe Mann, it was about interviewing celebrities. Back in 2008, 2009, interviewed the producer of Pretty Woman, Gary Goldstein, the drummer for Twisted Sister, the band Ludo, a bunch of other cool people. But over the years, I started to think a big break doesn't necessarily mean that you've become a huge international star. Millions of dollars. We all can have big breaks in life. We all have turning points in life. We all have interesting backstories that got us to where we are today. And you're going to hear all about Scott and his filmmaking adventures, how he raised money, how he wants to help other people raise money. And in so doing, he's going to share not only just tips for how to do that, but what I think is more important, and I know Scott does too, how did people get there? What were the struggles that they went through to become what they are today? And because I think that's where we find the best lessons in life, not just from the success, but from the 20 years of struggle that turned someone into an overnight success story. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my good friend Scott duPont. I could tell you about him ad-libbed, but I actually wrote a little bio thing that I want to read and make sure it's perfect. So, Scott duPont is the founder of Finance Your Movie, the mission of which is to help you get your money and tell your story. Get your money meaning get your film finance money. Now, Scott struggled at first trying to raise movie money until learning how it was done from coaches, mentors, veteran filmmakers. And today, Scott is a professional, self-proclaimed storyteller. What he means by that, an actor, a producer, and a screenwriter. He has raised millions of dollars, and that is true, millions of dollars over the last 20 years for feature films of all different sizes. And now he wants to help others do the same thing. And Scott and I both have known each other for many years. We're both filmmakers. We've both raised money, but he's been doing it a heck of a lot longer than me. He's raised a heck of a lot more money than me. And if I can learn something from him, having already raised money for a successful feature film, then any of you watching can also benefit from what this awesome man is about to share with us. So welcome, Scott.
Thanks, Monroe. It's quite an honor with all the accomplishments you've had over the years to be on your show. So thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And a note to anyone watching, we already know that we have some technical difficulties, and I'm sure my voice or Scott's voice is maybe delayed because we're all the rage, quarantine videoing, and we're having a blast with it. I think those are some of your movies that you've done behind you, right, on your wall?
Yeah, I've got about 15 or so movies behind me. I was directly involved with a little over a dozen of them. I say a little over a dozen because some of them I was associate producer, but most of the movies I've been involved with I've actually produced.
Very cool. Very impressive. So people can see already in the back that you've already accomplished quite a bit, but let's go way back. Not 10 years, way back to when Scott was a younger man. And I want to ask you, what would you say, the number one turning point in your life?
Well, I think the number one turning point was I hit rock bottom. I was a complete loser. And
Never.
I'm not saying this story, which I think is a pretty powerful story, like pity me, or he had it so rough, but just to use as an example, what is possible. So this was probably 1996. I had a retail business. We had locations in 3 different states. I put basically my entire life savings into starting this business. I borrowed I got family members to invest. They all lost their money. I went through 2 bankruptcies. The business shut down. I lost my girlfriend, lost my car. To make matters worse, I actually lost my health. I had a knee operation, and I was basically lying in bed, unable to walk, let alone work, with no money, bills piling up, and relatives didn't really want to loan me money at this point. I mean, I knew they loved me, and that's when I thought about committing suicide. I mean, I was at the end of my rope. I've never really told this story before, and so all I could really do was sit flat on my back watching a TV I put up on my dresser, and I saw this infomercial of the now famous Tony Robbins.
How old were you at this time?
I must have been somewhere between 21 to 25.
Okay.
Mid-20s.
Okay, so mid-20s. And then you saw something about Tony Robbins, you said?
Yeah, I saw an infomercial with this guy with big teeth. Didn't really know who he was. And I really connected with him. He wasn't one of these, you see a lot of the stuff on the web now. It's like, oh, yeah, here's some millions. We're flying on private jets. He seemed very authentic and very real. No matter what your situation, these would be tools to turn your life around. So I had a birthday coming up while I was flat on my back. They knew I couldn't work. They knew I wasn't going to ask him for money because they'd already loaned me as much money as they possibly could. I said this would be really, really important to me. And my mom and my sister, bless their hearts, they actually helped me spring for this. At the time, it was a $200 or $300 infomercial program that I got from Tony Robbins. And that information that I got from Tony Robbins totally changed my life, kind of set me in a whole new trajectory.
In what sense? How did that change your life?
Tony gave me certain tools. Like the first thing was, no matter how bad you think your life is, especially we're talking in this quarantine, there's a lot of millions of people that have lost their jobs. There's millions of people like me 30 years ago that completely lost their business, or they will lose their business in the next few weeks. If they have a bar or restaurant, a lot of them aren't going to survive. So the first thing Tony taught me was to shift my mindset to what I don't have. Okay, I didn't have my car anymore, didn't have my girlfriend, had no money, didn't have my health, didn't have my business, didn't have any possibility of making any money, but I was still alive.
Mm-hmm.
I still was fairly young. I still had a family that cared about me. So I just started shifting all the things that I didn't have to what I did have, and then what I could possibly do sitting in that bed, like reading some entrepreneurial books, like maybe studying.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just there's a whole shifting of your mind and a lot of tools. And then I started physical therapy. I started building my leg back after the surgery. And that was
so you just had a big confluence of hurricanes and tornadoes and lightning storms all at the same time that made you feel very hopeless. And then Tony Robbins, his program, helped to inspire you to realize, you know what, I can overcome this. There's more to my life than this terrible feeling that I have right now.
Yeah, plus for those watching your podcast right now that might be lucky enough to be in the United States or Canada, I mean, we're some of the richest nations in the world. I mean, there's a lot of people in other parts of the world where they would love to be in that situation, be completely broke, but just be in a different country where you could start over.
Interesting. That's a fascinating point of view. That's right. Exactly. Yeah.
It's true.
Some people fight just to come to another country to get an opportunity. Yeah.
Thousands of people die at the border every year. Children die. Women die. People get raped every month.
Absolutely.
So we are truly blessed, no matter what our situation is right now.
And I think that's an excellent point. We all need to recognize that our lives could be so much worse, and no matter how bad it is, it's probably not as bad as perhaps a lot of other people. That's a wonderful lesson. Now, at this point, were you an actor? Were you in show business or not yet?
No. So while I was sitting on my bed, I was trying to figure out, and I was working an insane amount of hours, 7 days a week, sometimes, no exaggeration, 20 hours a day. So I was sleeping 3 to 5 hours a night, 7 days a week. So the next turning point is I figured, okay, I've got some downtime. I don't know how I qualified for a student loan because you can't get credit cards, but the government will sometimes give you a loan if you're unemployed, if it's to put you back into the workforce, or if it's to expand your education. So luckily, I don't know how I got this loan to go back to school. And while I was going to school, I'm a very driven, motivated person. I figured whatever I get into next, I want to make sure it's something that I'm enjoy. So it was interesting. I'm going back to school, and while I was in school, I'm teamed up in one of our work assignments with this girl who was also going through the marketing program, and she was studying to be a publicist for her sister who lived in Hollywood, California. This was Orlando, Florida at the time. And a little side note, during this downtime, I had done a few small local commercials and some print jobs. So I was kind of dabbling with that as kind of a side thing. It got me, in fact, one of my first spots was a commercial for Florida Hospital showing me on my actual crutches because they needed a sick person. So I really
typecasting.
I got paid. So anyway, I thought to myself, maybe because I had gotten shot down from a couple other companies I was trying to get hired at as a marketing person or in their marketing. I wasn't having any luck. So, I really enjoyed that acting that I had dabbled in. Maybe I could become my own publicist for Scott DuPont Inc. and really focus on pushing my acting career. Eventually I wanted to do films, but Orlando was a huge commercial market at the time, and I knew that's where the money was, doing commercials, doing print jobs for Disney, Universal Studios, all the big hotels in the theme park market. So that's what I did, and coming out of that situation, my income was very, very meager to start with, but I was doing something I enjoyed. Every year, I started booking more and more jobs, and I literally applied all the tools I had learned in this marketing program to become a marketing machine. And this is an important point, no one's going to market you better than yourself. If you have a little bit of time to drive Monroe Mann enterprises, okay, even if you pay a publicist, if you're able to do some of the things yourself. And in that market, I became the busiest, most working actor in the entire state out of thousands and thousands of actors. And I wasn't necessarily the highest paid actor, wasn't necessarily the most well-known actor, I wasn't a star, but I was working all the time. And so that was kind of a big turning point, was learning how critical marketing was, and that launched my whole career into acting.
Which is a great, nice segue into the next question. So that's how you kind of got into show business down in Orlando, Florida. What would you say was one of your first big breaks over the years? That something in show business that happened that was a huge win that really influenced your future, that helped you end up moving to LA and realizing, hey, I've got something good here, and I'm not just another number in a sea of unknowns. What was that point for you?
I remember that point pretty clearly. I wasn't quite in LA yet. I would stay in Orlando for several more years, but I became one of those frustrated actors in a very big commercial independent film market, or the Central Florida. We're right in between Disney Studios, Universal Studios, and Miramax Studios. We called it kind of the three studio region. And what happened was, when all these movies would come in to Florida to shoot, like Bad Boys, Miami Vice, The Water Boy, not only would all the big stars come from Hollywood, but practically every single actor on the call sheet, even what we call some of the 5 and unders, 5 lines and less.
Yeah.
A lot of the crew people, they would all come from Hollywood. They'd fly in, they put them up in hotels, and we would be relegated to extra work. And there's nothing wrong with being a background performer. I do that from time to time, but I really wanted more. Plus, I wanted a little bit of control over my career versus being one of the thousands of people that audition for these little tiny parts. And, it's a numbers game. So, along with my frustrated cousin, we got the idea of starting. I actually met up with this guy who had just started a production company.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I'm doing these commercials, I'm doing these corporate training videos. Yeah, I'd kind of like to do a feature-length project too. So that was kind of my goal. I wanted to do like a feature film or a feature-length video project. And to make a long story short, I putting my marketing hat on, and I won't call myself a loser, but I was a single guy, didn't have a lot of luck with the ladies, and I saw these dating videos back on VHS. This was years ago, and I just bought one to check it out. I thought I might learn something because I'm always seeking information to make myself better.
Sure.
And they were awful. So I talked to my buddy at the production company and said, how about if we did a really good feature-length video, come up with a catchy title like Women on Men. And instead of just having like one or two guys drove on and on about here's how you pick up girls, here's the best way to meet women, how about if we make it all the girls? Because
Right.
I knew all these really attractive models and actors in the Central Florida market. They were all looking for work. They were all my friends. So we put together this really incredible Women on Men 75-minute program. We went to the catalog that was selling these other really crappy videos, and we got my investors' money back within 6 months. So we figured out how to
Awesome.
get the money because we had a plan, figured out where to sell the video, and that was really a big turning point. It's like, wow, I can make money as a producer.
And at that point, was that when you decided I'm also going to start producing a lot more rather than just auditioning for projects?
Yeah, that was kind of the proof of concept. Like, wow, so I partnered with this production company. We got some money from an investor. We made the money back. We put together a really high quality product. We screened it at Universal Studios in their little screening room there. So moving to the next step, and this is where sometimes you just gotta look at all opportunities that come to you when you have a clear goal. So my cousin and I were like, you know what? Let's go try to do a real movie.
Now, is this
And
one?
that-
Is this one the brothers?
Yes.
So I think I know where you're going. This is where you would say one of the biggest breaks that you've had over the years,
Yes.
and
yes.
it's have a very exciting ending. So let's hear the story from the horse's mouth.
So we had this idea. It's like, you know what? Let's just do a really low budget film, and this is what we want to do instead of just another video. So about this same time when we kind of had this goal, an old Rollins College professor in Winter Park, Florida, the area there, called me up and said, hey, this young kid just graduated from school, my writing class. He's a really sharp guy. And I hadn't actually talked to him, so this was just kind of circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great screenwriter, and he's thinking about doing a movie. You guys should meet for coffee sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like, all right, whatever. Yeah, I didn't really think anything of it.
Sure.
We had one meeting over a cup of coffee. This guy was really sharp. He pitched me this idea for a film. He's like, oh my God, this is a really great concept about two preppy white guys, kids from the suburbs that think they're these gangster rap stars, It was right before Malibu's Most Wanted and a couple other movies broke. So what we did is we got together over weekends. We got all the people in the top cinematographers, crew people, and actors in the Central Florida area. We shot a 30-minute short film over the course of weekends.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, Jonathan, the writer-director, he put up $5,000 on his credit card, so he took a little bit of a gamble. This short film ended up crushing it at film festivals all over the country, including first place at the New York International Film Festival. So we took that buzz. We got some news clippings and some good press and some buzz, including the early days of the internet done. This was probably late 90s when it came out, the short film. And then we springboard that short film into doing a feature version where we raised just over $1 million. So it was a pretty good budget for my first feature film. And we ended up getting that picked up by Lionsgate. So that was a huge turning point.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And now you are in Los Angeles, and you have now, not in addition to working on some other projects that I know that you're working on, hush-hush type of things that aren't ready to go public, but you also are starting have started a company to help other people raise the money for their feature films. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's really a kind of a community project. It's called financeyourmovie.com. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a series of live seminars. First of all, we have a kind of a community group page and a Facebook page up, so anyone can just go into that community and ask questions, and other people will, because there's a lot of people that maybe have experience in that, but they're having questions on that. So it's almost a little bit of a mastermind. So I'm going to kick things off with a seminar in LA this fall. Then I'll go to New York, and I'll just hit a few spots around the country. And there's going to be very, very small. I mean, I could probably do 50, 100, 200 people. I'm not saying that to brag at all, but the number one question everyone in the entertainment industry asks, whether they're doing their first web series, they want to do a short film, a documentary, a feature movie, they all want to know, how do you get the money? And I've seen it be such a source of pain and frustration for so many people that I'm really kind of stepping back from my producing for a while, and I want to help give the tools and strategies to other people so they don't waste years. I made a lot of mistakes over 20 years, raising money.
Give me an internet 5. Yes, to mistakes.
But that's the way you learn.
True.
So I've really, I interviewed a lot of people in our last documentary. I just wrote a book. I'm doing a podcast with the world's #1 wealth coach, J2 Fox.
Awesome.
So it's not just me. I've extracted a lot of tools and strategies from them on how to raise money and how to do it efficiently versus just, I'll get together with a couple of my buddies and we'll try to kind of figure this out.
Absolutely.
That's what I did at the start, and it was brutal.
So to conclude, can you give us maybe 3 nuggets of wisdom? It doesn't have to necessarily be about raising money. It doesn't have to necessarily be just for people in show business. Anybody watching, based on your life experience, your successes, your failures, what are 3 bits of wisdom that you can share with us?
Yeah, I can. And like you said, this applies to anybody. Number 1, you want to be part of the 3 to 5% that at the beginning of the year, the end of the year, you have clearly defined, written down goals. You might have heard of the 1955 Yale graduating class study, but they found that the 3% of that class, and that was right around the year my dad graduated Yale, only 3% had clearly defined written goals. They went back to the surviving members of that class 20 years later. They were less divorce rate, they were happier, they were healthier, a lot of subjective things. But the one objective category that they clearly could measure, and there were some others, is that the 3% of that class that had written down goals had more income than the 97% combined.
Wow.
That's how powerful goals are. And I got into the vision board thing a few years ago too. So that's probably the number 1 thing. It's just get some clear goals, have a vision board, and also figure out what the why is behind that. Like, you don't want to just be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Okay? Maybe that's one of your goals, but maybe you want to be a millionaire because that will help you be able to finance your own movies or open up your own restaurant and help feed 1,000 people next year. Whatever your, there's a lot of other goals, including.
I always talk, as you know, in my book Trust, I talk about that why principle too. But that book. I don't know. Anyway, one of my books I talk about theatrical juggernaut is if you want to be a star or for whatever, it's not enough if it's just about you. You're more likely to get there if it's because your acting is going to inspire people, not I want to be a star. And so I think I agree 100% that figuring out why you want something is more important in some ways than the goal, right?
Yeah, so true. And then the second thing, I try to do this on a daily basis, it's just kind of the way I live, is to always take immediate action. Because a lot of us will go to a seminar, we'll read a book, we'll get inspired by something, but if you don't do a voice memo on your smartphone, or jot it down, or I even have a whiteboard in my shower. So if I'm completely naked, I've got
that's awesome.
Shampoo in my eyes, I can at least get it out of my eye and write it down on my whiteboard, because I never want a brilliant idea, and they sometimes hit you at odd moments, to not be captured. And then I can take action, and it might be a small email Monroe about a podcast, or hey, I got this great book idea, or hey, there's so many different ideas, but you want to make sure you capture them to take action later.
So it's not precisely about taking immediate action on everything. It's that if you come up with an idea and you know it's important and you don't want to forget, always write that down immediately. Have places on your phone, next to your bed, in your shower, which is brilliant. I think that's hilarious. And that's dedication right there, Scott. I have a notepad next to my bed. You've got a whiteboard in your shower. So
I've got them. I've got them everywhere. I mean, everywhere I am, I've got a notepad, a pen, my phone. Right.
Does the whiteboard? Does it in the humidity of the shower? Does it droop or does it stay?
No. It's a those dry erase.
So a dry erase, even when it's with water in the steam, it's okay.
Yeah.
As long as it's not deliberately.
I have it about a foot above my head, so it's not, it doesn't catch a lot of water or steam.
That's a great idea. You should make this product and sell them. It's called the shower board. I mean, there's a brilliant idea, and I will buy that. And write it down, Scott. And when you make one, I want. If you do make one, I want a free testing version.
It's recorded. It's recorded right here. So.
All right, and so what is your third tip?
So third thing, and this is probably the most important, not only for show business and any business, but I think this is really, really important for life in general. Now, I'm going to give you a quick story about I don't want to say a very good friend, but a good friend of mine named Will Hayes. And if you don't remember the movie, you can Google and look it up. It was a National Lampoon movie called RoboDoc.
RoboDoc.
And yeah, it actually filmed at Universal Studios Florida. It was a big, big movie. It was shot out of that area back in around 2000, I think. Will, pretty successful actor. He was a couple years ahead of me. He was booking a lot more stuff. Well known in the Southeast region. He hadn't quite gone to Hollywood yet. He got the lead role. The movie opened up in close to 1,000 theaters. It was a theatrical release, National Lampoon thing. He got a couple other movies after that. He was a regular on some TV shows. I mean, for most any actor, he had hit the pinnacle. So let's forget about the 0.00001% that are A-list, that you know their names.
Sure.
There's a lot of actors right now, not necessarily in Hollywood, that could be living in Atlanta, Georgia, that are making between $200,000 and $1 million a year acting.
A lot. I would say it's even more than a lot. It's the majority of working actors are in that range.
Well, I would say the majority of working actors are below 70,000. But there's a lot. So thousands and thousands of these actors, okay? And he was in that kind of B-list secondary category. I mean, it was like the dream. You're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars to do what you love to do. And he was the nicest guy in the world. Go look it up, and what I'm about to tell you will make your heart cry. Committed suicide.
Yeah.
That's what we all said. His wife was because there was such a pouring out of emotions. He was the nicest guy in the world. Reached out to it, and by the way, he had 2 kids at home. It just makes me sick to think about this. So what had happened was, we get in this mentality of thinking about what we don't have versus about what we already have. So Will was wondering sometimes why he was number 3 or 4 on the call sheet. Mm-hmm. He would wonder sometimes, as he's going up to his great big trailer to star on this huge TV show that that 30 million people a week are tuning into back in the day. He's wondering, excuse me, I'm going to change lights here real quick. That's what it's called, a live production.
I changed light too. If anyone saw in the background, the lighting in the background has been getting darker slowly.
So he'd wonder why he's going into this big trailer, but yet somebody, and I'm just using this name, I don't know if he worked with John Travolta, but why does Brad Pitt or John Travolta or someone else have even bigger trailer? Mm-hmm. You know, no matter where you are, if you're in the restaurant business, okay, you can't compare yourself to Chef Emerald. You can't compare yourself to that Fridays guy. I don't even know his name. You're always going to lose. You're always going to lose. So I'm really, really happy in my life where I am right now. I'm striving to do better and just improve myself, but I don't compare myself to anybody. And what you've accomplished in your life, sure, I don't think you've sold 500 million copies of your book like Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul. But a lot of people have enjoyed your books. Yeah. You've inspired so many people, including myself. You're doing it.
Yeah, I think that's an important point to remind everyone, even myself, because I know people. I've been a lot more forthcoming with my psychological challenges over the years, but for many years I hid it all, and everybody thought I was some Superman or this or that. But the truth is, yeah, I've got 10 books that I've published, and I got onto a bunch of TV shows as a result, CNBC, Donnie Deutsch, and Fox News. But I'm always comparing. We always do, and it's toxic, because I should be proud of the things I've accomplished, not saying, but I didn't do that. The Joneses, keeping up with the Joneses, and the thing it is, you think the Joneses are doing well and are so perfect, but the truth is you have no idea all the anger, that the arguments they're having, or they have some other issue that you don't know about, or a health issue. And so I think my big thing is, I always say everybody's got problems. There's not one person who is, my life is perfect and there is nothing going wrong. No, that is not life. Life is tough, and we've all got our struggles. Some just hide them from other people better. So I agree with that one, and I appreciate you reminding me of my accomplishments, because sometimes it's hard to see them as that, because you somehow minimize the things that you did because it wasn't a little bit more successful. But the truth is that, and people come up to me and say, "Oh, you're very successful. I can't believe you've done that. You produced a movie. You've written these books. You've started this not-for-profit." Well, you know what? Thank you. Thank you, Scott.
Think back 20 years ago, and I have to think back 20 or 25 years ago. We both are successful from where we were 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I hadn't written a single book. I hadn't produced a single short movie, let alone dozens of movies. And, acted with Academy Award winning actors. And, it's all about just really enjoying life, which is so short. We're starting to learn that as we get a little bit older. And just appreciating it.
Absolutely. Scott, this has been a pleasure. I thank you for being my first guest on the rebooted version of Before the Big Break. And I look forward to having you on some of the other shows that I'm doing. And I'd love to be on your podcast. And I hope that you guys watching enjoyed what Scott shared with you. And I want to remind all of you just the story he first told, because 20 plus years ago, he was thinking of committing suicide. He was thinking that my leg is ruined, my romance life is ruined, my financial life is ruined, my career is ruined. And thankfully, he had the strength to say, you know what, I'm going to hold on one more day. And I think it's so important. I'm so grateful that he did. And I hope that his story inspires you all watching to realize it ain't as bad as you think it is. And you'll laugh about it if you can just hold on a little bit longer. And that's advice from me. And it's also Scott's advice that I'm giving back to him, that things are going to work out. And on that note, Scott, I think 2020 is going to be fantastic, despite all of the terrible things that are going on in the world right now. Would you agree?
Well, you can't see, but on my vision board there, I've got the 2020 glasses from New Year's. It said the best year ever. And it has been the best year ever already. It's been a little tough because I haven't seen my girlfriend in 6 weeks. She lives pretty far away. And we're
she called me and told me privately, don't tell Scott, but I'm so grateful.
But no, I truly am grateful because I just finished this course and I'm launching Finance Your Movie, and I wouldn't have had this really focused time the last 2 months to work on it if I had been just kind of working on set and working on all these other projects. Plus, we're getting ready to release a movie, hopefully this fall. So it's given me a lot of time to really focus on some important things. So it's been a blessing in a way.
Absolutely. And there's always a silver lining. So again, for those watching, if you're having a tough time during this quarantine, don't be depressed. I lost two jobs. I lost 2 jobs during the quarantine. But I've got a lot of free time now to get things done and to make this show. I'm sure I would not be here doing this if I were busy grading papers for the college that I was working at before or whatnot. Hey, you know what? Take it in stride, and there's always something better around the corner. Thank you so much. Again, the website to check out Scott's funding opportunities and community is called, again, financeyourmovie.com. Financeyourmovie.com. If you enjoyed this, please click like, please send it to your friends, please subscribe. We're going to be doing a lot of cool videos here on the Break Diving channel on psychology, show business, athletics, writing, and dancing, and travel, and comedy. Any topic imaginable, we want to help you succeed. And please come and join us. Breakdiving.io. It's a worldwide, not-for-profit community where we focus on your success, happiness, and friendship, and you will make friends around the world. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm Dr. Monroe Mann with Mr. Scott
duPont.
Scott duPont. Bye, guys. See you next time.
Thanks, Monroe.
My pleasure. Thank you.